morning, you're watching Daybreak on A News. I'm your host, Nadia Jani, taking you through today's top stories. Now, let's take a look at the headlines. Donald Trump says nations have pledged $7 billion to Gaza reconstruction at the first Board of Peace meeting. Britain's former Prince Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor has been released under investigation after his arrest for alleged misconduct in public office. And Trump warns Iran to make a deal in 10 to 15 days or really bad things will happen. First this morning, US President Donald Trump says that nations have pledged $7 billion to the Gaza Reconstruction Fund during the first inaugural Board of Peace meeting in Washington. He also proposed a multinational force in the post-war country with troops from Albania, Kazakhstan and Kosovo. But it would require the full disarmament of Hamas and support from Israel, a condition that remains uncertain. Here's more.
US President Donald Trump convened the inaugural meeting of his newly formed Board of Peace in Washington, bringing together representatives from nearly 50 countries to advance a reconstruction and stabilization framework for Gaza. During the session, Trump announced that contributing nations had raised more than $7 billion towards an initial relief and reconstruction package.
Together, we're committed to achieving a Gaza that is properly governed throughout. The whole area is going to be, so many countries that have really nothing to do with the Middle East, but they may be somewhat close by today. And I'm pleased to announce that Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, UAE, Morocco, Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Uzbekistan, and Kuwait have all contributed more than $7 billion toward the relief package. That's great. Thank you, fellas. Thank you.
Coexistence among Egypt supports the mandate of the Board of Peace.
The achievements of the ceasefire is real.
Supporting Gaza through the Board of Peace.
Several countries outlined their pledges. Qatar committed $1 billion. The United Arab Emirates announced $1.2 billion, while Saudi Arabia and Kuwait each confirmed $1 billion contributions. Kazakhstan offered financial support and wheat supplies as part of humanitarian assistance. President Trump initially included Azerbaijan in the $7 billion package. However, Azerbaijan's assistant to the president, Hikmet Hajiev, later clarified that while Azerbaijan supports the Board of Peace as a founding member and may consider future investment projects in Gaza, it does not envisage participating in the announced financial initiative. On security, Indonesia pledged up to 8,000 troops for a proposed international stabilization force. Morocco, Kazakhstan and Albania committed personnel, while Egypt and Jordan agreed to train Palestinian police units. The force is expected to begin deployment in Rafah, with longer-term plans to expand to 12,000 police officers and 20,000 soldiers. Leaders also highlighted reconstruction priorities, including housing, electricity, water, healthcare, education, and digital infrastructure. The World Bank will act as a limited trustee for donor funds, providing financial oversight. Despite previous criticism of the United Nations, Trump said the board would work closely with the organization and pledged US support to ensure it remains viable.
We're going to be working with the United Nations very closely. We're going to bring them back. I think the United Nations has great potential, really great potential. It has not lived up to potential. The 8 wars, I never even spoke to them about one of them, and I should be speaking to them about all of them. Someday I won't be here. The United Nations will be, I think, is going to be much stronger, and the Board of Peace is going to almost be looking over the United Nations and making sure it runs properly. But we're going to strengthen up the United Nations.
Major political questions remain unresolved, including the disarmament of Hamas, the withdrawal of Israeli forces, and Gaza's long-term governance. While declaring the war in Gaza over, Trump warned that failure by Hamas to disarm would be harshly met. The board's success will now depend on whether pledged funds materialize and whether security and political conditions allow reconstruction to move from plans to reality.
Now let's take a look at the stories shaping the day across the globe. And we head first to the BBC website in relation to Andrew. And Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has been released under investigation after arrest on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Now we know that he was arrested on Thursday morning in regards to the UK police arrested him. A man in his 60s in Norfolk was carrying out searches in addresses in Berkshire and Norfolk. Now King Charles III has actually spoken out about this, said that the law must take its course in response to Andrew's arrest and that the police had his full and wholehearted support and cooperation. Now this is the first time Andrew has been arrested. He has been consistently and strenuously denied any wrongdoing. The arrest took place at Sandringham at around 8 o'clock GMT and is not in any relation to the allegations of sexual offences. Now the brother of the late Virginia Gourth spoke to Sky News and the BBC and said that he believes his sister has been vindicated by news of Andrew's arrest. Now the former prince previously faced allegations for Virginia Gourth's account in regards to, she alleged that they had a very intimate relationship, and this was settled outside of court because it was not a consensual one. Now US President Donald Trump has also reacted to the news of Andrew's arrest and told reporters that he thinks it's very sad. He said, "I think it's so bad for the royal family. We will be definitely providing you with more updates in regards to this particular story." And if we just now go to the next headline in regards to Reuters. So what you are going to be seeing across the day is in relation to what's been happening here, and this video plays out of when Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was actually arrested yesterday morning in regards to searching and questioning him in relation to his misconduct while he was currently in a governmental position in the United Kingdom. As mentioned, he says that he denies any forms of wrongdoing, but an investigation is going on, and it's something that has sent shockwaves around the world, and especially to the royal family here, which I just read out, Prince Charles III, his statement. Now, if we go to the next website, which is on Reuters. Now, I just want to point you in the direction of this, the only and very now it's going to be very famous picture of the former prince, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, sitting, reclining back in the chair, as you can see there. Now, it is very interesting that this is the only photo that any newspaper or broadcaster is going to be able to use, because the photographer, who's actually a Reuters photographer, Phil Noble, he went viral for this because it was the only one that was published late on Thursday. And the reason for that is because many journalists and photographers were waiting to see Andrew leave the prison. Leave the police offices at that particular time. They didn't know where he was. They were trying to figure out where he was going to be released from police custody following a day of questioning and allegations. And finally, after the photographer Noble decided to leave, he headed away and decided to leave the actual area, which is in the market town of Aishlam. 6 or 7 hours he waited. Then it got a bit dark. He thought, okay, this might not be the right place that Andrew is being held in police custody. He then got a phone call saying that they're now leaving, and he rushed back to get this particular photo of him. He said, and this is what he said, he goes, he took 6 frames in all. 2 showed a police, 2 were blank, and 1 was out of focus. But one captured was this particular one, and took the nature of the moment. For the first time in modern history, a senior royal was being treated as a common criminal, and the image used has been extensively used between media outlets worldwide. So this is going to be one of the only and most famous photos we're going to get of his release after he was questioned by police on Thursday. So just wanted to highlight that. Now, if we go to the next story, also making waves across the morning, and that's Trump stating that he said that if Iran does not come to some form of agreement, bad things against Iran will happen. Now, we know that we have been reporting on this particular story for the past couple of weeks now, especially in relation to talks that they had with Iran and US delegates in Oman, and then again in Geneva this week in regards to talks in relation to their nuclear program, ballistic missiles, etc. Now, Trump says negotiations with Iran are ongoing and insisted that Tehran has to reach a meaningful agreement, otherwise things might take a downward turn. We do know there has been massive military buildup in and around parts of the Gulf region, and it's the largest buildup since the 2003 invasion of Iraq that fueled fears that a full-scale attack on Iran could actually be quite imminent, as well as the US has also pulled troops out of Syria and sent them over to the Middle East. So we know that there is a constant backup of troops in and around that particular area. So it seems that it's getting closer and closer to whether or not the US will decide to make a strike on Iran, or hopefully they'll come to some form of agreement. Now, the foreign minister of Iran said that they had agreed on guiding principles, and that was on the Tuesday, but the White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt said on Wednesday that the two sides remained apart on some issues. So there's still a lot to actually discuss in that. Trump has said they can't have nuclear weapons, and that's as far as he goes on that. He goes, that's very simple. You can't have nuclear weapons, and you can't, in order for there to be peace in the Middle East, so those nuclear weapons need to go, is what he has said. But we'll give you more information as the day progresses. But that was your press roundup for today. We're going to take a quick break. When I return, I'll provide you with the rest of the top stories.
And welcome to Primetime. What a show we've got lined up for you. In a complex world, clarity is power. Two hours live, diplomacy dissected in a spin-free environment. That's Prime Time with me, Guy Schoen, weekdays on A News.
Inside Politics delves deeply into the heart of global issues shaping our world today. Join me for your go-to source of political analysis from across the region and beyond.
Welcome back. You're watching Daybreak. Now let's take a look at the rest of the global stories for the morning. We head over to the UK, and Britain's former Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has been released under investigation. It's after being arrested yesterday on suspicion of misconduct in public office linked to his past role as a UK trade envoy. Police say no charges have been filed and inquiries are ongoing. Buckingham Palace insists the law must take its course as the royal family faces renewed scrutiny. Our correspondent Zainab Faridze has more.
United Kingdom's former Prince Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor has left police station following his arrest on suspicion of misconduct in public office on Thursday morning. He was photographed reclined in the back of a vehicle, leaving Aylsham police station at around 7 p.m. local time and was released under investigation. Former Prince's arrest came on the same day he turned 66. Police have been searching addresses in Berkshire and Norfolk, including the Royal Lodge in Windsor, where he lived until recently. Officers say the investigation relates to allegations that he passed documents and information to Jeffrey Epstein while working as a UK trade envoy, stressing that no charges have been brought. The King, who was not told about the arrest in advance, said in the statement that the law must take its course. Prince William and Catherine are understood to support that position. The family of Virginia Giuffre, who accused Andrew of sexual abuse and died last year, said they felt vindicated by the arrest. Her brother Sky Roberts said the news brought a sense of justice for his sister and urged the royal family to use the moment to push for accountability and cultural change. Giuffre made global headlines after a photograph of her as a teenager with Andrew emerged in 2011. She accused him of abusing her when she was underage and filed a civil case in 2021, which was settled the following year without an admission of wrongdoing. Andrew, the second son of the late Queen Elizabeth, has always denied any wrongdoing in relation to Epstein and has said he regrets their friendship. Misconduct in public office is a serious common law offence in the UK and carries a maximum sentence of life imprisonment, with cases heard in the Crown Court. Police say the investigation is ongoing and further updates will follow. Zainab Farizadeh, News, Manchester, United Kingdom.
Following on from this, US President Donald Trump has also expressed concern over Andrew's arrest, describing the situation as unfortunate for the royal family while also stressing his own innocence in the matter. Here's what he had to say.
Well, you know, I'm the expert in a way because I've been totally exonerated. That's very nice. I can actually speak about it very nicely. I think it's a shame. I think it's very sad. I think it's so bad for the royal family. It's a very, very sad. To me, it's a very sad thing. When I see that, it's a very sad thing to see it and to see what's going on with his brother, who's obviously coming to our country very soon, and he's a fantastic man, the King. So I think it's a very sad thing. It's really interesting because nobody used to speak about Epstein when he was alive, but now they speak. But I'm the one that can talk about it because I've been totally exonerated. I did nothing. In fact, the opposite. He was against me. He was fighting me in the election, which I just found out through the last 3 million pages of documents.
Meanwhile, as news of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's arrest sent shockwaves globally, the United Nations says it's declining to comment on the matter. However, the UN spokesperson has called for increased investigations into the Epstein files.
I have no comment on the particular the circumstances and the reasons of the detention of Mr. Windsor Mountbatten today. That's not for us to get involved in. But as we've said before, there should be increased investigations into the abuse of women and girls that we have seen by Mr. Epstein that spans many different countries and jurisdictions. Thank you.
US President Donald Trump has warned Iran to make a deal in 10 to 15 days or really bad things will happen. The comment comes as Iran and Russia conduct Navy exercises in the Indian Ocean.
Speaking at his first Board of Peace meeting held in Washington on Thursday, US President Donald Trump warned Iran it must do a deal surrounding its nuclear program. He made the comment after talks in Geneva made no real breakthrough, despite sides saying there was progress.
And we do have some work to do with Iran. They can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. You can't have peace in the Middle East if they have a nuclear weapon. And they can't have a nuclear weapon. And they've been told that very strongly. They cannot continue to threaten the stability of the entire region. And they must make a deal. Or if that doesn't happen, I maybe can understand. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But Bad things will happen.
Trump hopes the large build-up of military aircraft in the region piles on enough pressure for a deal to be reached. However, Iran and Russia conducted joint naval exercises in the Sea of Oman and the northern Indian Ocean on Thursday. Navy authorities said the exercises were aimed to promote security and sustainable maritime interactions. The increase of military on both sides in the region comes as Tehran refuses to give up its nuclear program and denies it plans to develop atomic weapons.
The European Council has formally decided to add Iran's Islamic Revolution Guards Corps to the European Union's list of terrorist organisations. The move follows a political agreement reached by the bloc's Foreign Affairs Council late last month. As a result of the designation, the IRGC will face restrictive measures under the EU's counter-terrorism sanctions regime, including the freezing of its funds and economic resources within member states. The United States has significantly reinforced its military presence across the Middle East, deploying additional aircraft and naval assets as uncertainty surrounds the future of negotiations with Iran. While Washington says diplomatic channels remain open, the scale of the build-up has raised questions about whether military options are being actively prepared.
The United States is assembling its largest concentration of air power in the Middle East since the 2003 invasion of Iraq. As tensions with Iran intensify, according to the Wall Street Journal, in recent days, advanced F-35 and F-22 fighter jets have been moved to regional bases alongside additional F-15 and F-16. Command and control aircraft, aerial refueling planes and reinforced air defense systems have also been deployed. The build-up would give Washington the option of launching a sustained air campaign against Iran, potentially lasting weeks, rather than a limited strike such as the operation carried out earlier this year against Iranian nuclear facilities. Despite the show of force, President Donald Trump has not decided whether to authorize military action. Officials say he has been briefed on options ranging from targeted strikes on nuclear and missile sites to a broader campaign aimed at weakening Iran's leadership and regional capabilities. At the same time, diplomatic talks between Washington and Tehran continue. Representatives met in Geneva this week to discuss Iran's uranium enrichment program.
There was a little bit of progress made, but we're still very far apart on some issues. I believe the Iranians are expected to come back to us with some more detail in the next couple of weeks, and so the president will continue to watch how this plays out.
Iran is expected to present a more detailed proposal in the coming weeks, though US and foreign officials remain skeptical that Tehran will meet Washington's core demands, including halting uranium enrichment. The United States retains overwhelming military superiority in the air, but Iran still possesses a sizable missile arsenal and the ability to threaten key regional targets, including oil shipping routes.
In Kabal's markets, families prepare for Ramadan, but soaring prices are putting even basic food out of reach. From flour to cooking oil, many households are struggling to put together iftar meals as wages remain low and economic pressure continues to mount in Afghanistan. Here's the report.
As Muslims in Afghanistan begin observing the holy month of Ramadan, many families say rising food prices are making it increasingly difficult to afford basic staples. Residents in Kabul say the cost of cooking oil, rice and flour has climbed sharply, adding pressure on households already struggling with unemployment and poverty. Markets across Kabul are busy as families prepare for the first days of fasting. But for many, the focus is not on celebration, but on survival. With incomes low and prices rising, even basic items for iftar are becoming harder to afford. In markets across the capital, sacks of flour, bottles of cooking oil, and piles of vegetables line the stalls. but traders say customers are buying less than in previous years. Many families are now limiting purchases to the most basic items needed to break their fast.
Compared to last year, prices have increased a lot. A bottle of cooking oil is around 2,300 Afghanis, and a sack of rice costs about 4,000 Afghanis. We cannot afford to buy rice. It has been a long time since we last bought any.
Afghanistan's economy remains fragile, weighed down by sanctions, reduced humanitarian assistance, and limited employment opportunities. Aid agencies say millions of people continue to depend on assistance to meet their daily food needs. Laborers and small vendors say incomes have fallen, even as the cost of essential goods continue to rise ahead of Ramadan.
Prices have doubled. During this Ramadan, I cannot afford to buy 10 litres of cooking oil. So far, I have only earned 50 Afghanis.
Despite the economic hardship, many say Ramadan remains a time of faith, patience, and charity, with communities still trying to support one another. Ramadan is observed by Muslims worldwide, with fasting from dawn to sunset. But in Afghanistan, for many families, the holy month is unfolding against the backdrop of deepening economic strain.
We're now going to take a quick break. Make sure you stay with us. I will be joined by a guest to discuss some of the regional stories taking place. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome to A News, unfiltered news and analysis from the region and beyond. From Washington to Beijing, Tehran to Kabul, to Tbilisi to Tashkent. Hello, I'm Jay. Challenges.
Today is the third.
We're with you 24/7, taking you live to the front lines of the day's biggest stories. Welcome to Gabon. One important note to fears. I'm here.
Azerbaijan and Armenia.
Hello, we are recording the shade of November.
Reporting from Paris,
Dar es Salaam, Tel Aviv, Washington, London,
Moscow,
Kyiv, Berlin,
Rio de Janeiro, Beijing, Bangkok, Tbilisi, Tashkent, Almaty, Kazakhstan, Port Sudan, Tehran, Islamabad, Istanbul,
Kabul, for A News.
On World Business, we meet the boardroom leaders making market-moving decisions. And find out how leaders are dealing with continuous technological disruption.
shaken to its very foundation.
Inside Politics delves deeply into the heart of global issues shaping our world today. Join me for your go-to source of political analysis from across the region and beyond.
Welcome back and thank you for joining me this morning. Now we're going to take a look at the news stories happening across the region. First to the Board of Peace. Now during that meeting, US President Donald Trump highlighted the peace declaration signed by Armenia and Azerbaijan in Washington last year, emphasizing that there is nothing more important than peace. Here you go.
You think that was easy? It wasn't easy. These are two tough people, good people, but tough people. But, you know, we're in the Oval Office, and we were getting near. But the one was at one side of the room. I have two chairs right in front of the desk, the beautiful, resolute desk. One's over here. One's on the other side of the room. I said, Felix, could you get a little closer? Well, I don't know. They felt very uncomfortable. You know, they've been killing each other for 32 years. So I say, can you get a little closer? After 1 hour, they were right next to each other. We made a deal. They hugged, they signed, and we had peace with two very important countries, and I'll never forget it. So they started off a little weak, and they ended up really strong, and you can be very proud of yourselves. It was a beautiful thing to see. Thank you. Look at that. Do you believe it? 32 years. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now, President Ilham Aliyev attended the first session, as you just saw there, of the board as Azerbaijan assumed the role of founding member following the signing of the Charter on the 22nd of January. The gathering, chaired by the US President Donald Trump, was framed as a platform for conflict resolution and post-war stabilization, with participating states pledging substantial financial commitments. Now, to discuss this in more detail is Shiraz Mahmoud Khan, research scholar at the Western Caspian University. Welcome this morning.
Thank you.
Let's get straight into it. We just saw a clip from President Donald Trump. I saw you looking at that. That's the first time I had seen it. What do you take of that? Like, very much putting Azerbaijan and Armenia as the golden children of peace and, you know, stabilization. You know what? It's actually a very good sign. You know, Azerbaijan and Armenia have been in conflict for decades. You know, all these decades, and obviously Azerbaijan has sacrificed. I'm sure both of the countries have sacrificed. But Azerbaijan, what we see, is sacrificed a lot for this. Be it the Khojaly massacre, or be it any other incidents. You know, there's a series of incidents what Azerbaijan has gone through. You know, people have fled from their places and all that. Humanitarian crisis and whatnot, and people have been killed. So in this war, Azerbaijan has kind of you know, it has won its territories back, and this is a very good thing. But we see Azerbaijan as being the winner of the game still shakes hands with the other counterpart, which is an amazing thing. I mean, that's what we've been seeing in this you know, a board of peace. That you know, is just not this Azerbaijan and you know, Armenia, but we have other wars going on in the region as well. For example, Ukraine war. So you know, Ukraine and a lot of other wars have just, you know, emerged in recent past. For example, Pakistan and India war. There's a lot of problems going in Iran at the moment. So, you know, the whole world is actually looking for peace, and that's a very, very good initiative by the U.S. and all its you know, member countries, that they're participating in bringing in the peace in the region where 75 you know, 7.5 million deaths and all that. In Gaza we're talking about. Yes, definitely. So, yeah. And we'll definitely drill down on what that looks like in Gaza. Now, In relation to Azerbaijan and its role as a founding member as part of the Board of Peace, does that signal a shift in its diplomatic alignment with the US and Washington?
Of course. The other countries as well, but as far as Azerbaijan is concerned, it can play a very good role in negotiating a diplomatic engagement with both sides. Okay, so Azerbaijan believes in two-nation theory under United Nations, which is a good part, and Azerbaijan has very good relations with with both of the nations. For example, Azerbaijan can play a lot of negotiations and diplomatic engagement with Israel, and and Azerbaijan has all the sympathies and all that towards Gaza as well.
Yeah.
So Azerbaijan, since Azerbaijan militarily is really good as well, as we're going to provide not only the diplomatic assistance, but in future maybe military assistance as well.
Well, yes, exactly, because there was a big announcement that Trump made in regards to this $7 billion commitment to funding the reconstruction of Gaza. Now, do you think that globally funded peace platforms could reconcile competing geopolitical interests?
Well, I think the figure is little more than that. I think it's a 10 billion we're talking about. Yeah, which has been total. And U.S. obviously wants peace in the region at this point in time, because the instability in the region does not go in anyone's favor, be it the U.S., be it the Israel, be it the obviously does not really go in favor of Palestine and all that, and the destabilization of Palestine. I mean, like 70% of the infrastructure has been damaged and all this. In this kind of a situation, and millions have been displaced and killed. This kind of a situation where there's this kind of a humanitarian crisis and all that. Peace is actually the need of the hour, and this is a very big initiative. If it goes on and everything is materialized, it's an amazing initiative by the President of the United States of America, and obviously a very good initiative by its allies who are working for it, be it the Turkey, be it Azerbaijan, be it Pakistan, be it the Central Asian countries, and so on and so forth. So a lot of people, a lot of countries from Europe, probably Eastern Europe a lot, and Asia, and other parts of the region are the part of it. And I think 25 countries have signed this deal, as far as I know. So, yeah.
Yes. Well, it will be a major feat if they do, bring something like that to fruition, because that's the plan and that's the goal that Trump wants. But what symbolic weight should we attach then, or should be attached to the high-level gestures in Washington? How do we then translate it into binding regional agreements?
Yeah, okay, so the regional agreements are going on. 25 countries have actually signed and went through the terms and conditions of this peace accord or peace process, or whatever you call it, Board of Peace. A lot of all these countries will be assisting this peace in providing them a certain amount of money, a certain amount of financial aid to this peace process, which is an amazing thing. The peace process has 3 or 4 steps, obviously bringing in the stability first in the region. And the stability would be talking about peace and doing the peace agreements, and then obviously materializing them, and then bringing the infrastructure back. So there will be a lot of investments going on by different countries on the infrastructures and railways and a lot of things, because as I said that 70%, 75% of the infrastructure is damaged, so there will be a lot of contribution. Then the humanitarian crisis is there. That would bring in a good sign and a gesture and a shift in the region. and it would be really good. I'm quite surprised, not surprised, I'm quite amazed, and I'm quite excited about this peace negotiations which are going on in different. It is quite unprecedented, by the way.
It is very unprecedented. A lot of things that Trump, the
it's like a dream come true kind of a thing.
Is doing is very unprecedented, but. President Donald Trump did suggest that the Board of Peace would look over the UN to ensure that it remains viable. Does that indicate the emergence of a parallel structure designed to operate alongside the UN rather than supplant it?
Yeah, of course. United Nations have played a vital role in peacekeeping and all that as well. There are a lot of countries which are involved in this peace accord or in this Board of Peace, which were part of United Nations peacekeeping missions in the past. For example, if you take an example of Pakistan, which is one of the nuclear powers in the region, has always been a peacekeeper in different parts of the world, be it the Bosnia, Herzegovina, and all that back in the 90s and all that. So United Nations will obviously play its own role in bringing in the peace, and with the support of United Nations, without the support of United Nations, it's hardly possible. So obviously United Nations will bring in its own peace, initiatives and all that to foster this part of the region.
Yes, well,
in the longer run.
Yes, exactly. And I think there is still criticism over Trump's idea of the Board of Peace because there are still so many UN and organizations to help with security, peace, humanitarian aid, and things like that. So which is why a number of countries have decided to abstain from joining the membership of the Board of Peace. What do you take to that?
Well. In Europe, the biggest countries are probably Germany, UK, France, and so I mean they're the big powers. But as Trump says, Trump is quite positive that some countries might join in future as well. So it is always very hard to bring in this kind of initiative because it's kind of an impossible thing that a lot of countries would be sitting on one table talking about. This conflict which has been going on for decades. All right, so this was kind of an impossible thing. So maybe a lot of countries might join later, seeing the stability of the contracts and seeing the improvement in the scenario and the infrastructures that are going on and the peace is being retained and all that. So it might. Have more people coming in.
Okay, well let's focus on that figure that you mentioned. That I said $7 billion, but you think it's $10 billion in regards to the financial.
I think that's what I've learned at some
contribution towards it, which is fine. We can definitely confirm later. But Azerbaijan has said it won't participate as a financial contributor in that way to the reconstruction fund, while refraining from sending troops, as Indonesia is sending a number of troops there that we learned, as well as other countries. Why? Is that the case, and could that position evolve for Azerbaijan?
Right at the moment, because what is actually whatever any country is providing at the moment, okay, is it could be for some time, but going forward, it can provide its troops too. But since Azerbaijan can right now do the financial part of it and do the diplomatic efforts, that's what it's just offering it to. Otherwise, in the longer run, if it goes on and all that, and if Azerbaijan is in the position to provide the troops, it can. But we don't know right now at the moment. So, but this diplomatic effort would be a bigger step for Azerbaijan, not only for Azerbaijan, for the people in Gaza, that Azerbaijan is contributing in diplomatic, because diplomacy plays a vital role in bringing in the peace in any country, or any region.
Yeah, and especially with what we've seen in this region.
So this is a very good step Azerbaijan is taking right now at the moment, and that's what Azerbaijan can offer. And they have very good relations with both of the sides.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the meeting also formally recognised the National Committee for the Gaza Administration, with its chair participating in proceedings. Do you think that this is very technocratic, self-governing structure, it could evolve into a foundation for Palestinian statehood in the longer term? Do you think?
Yeah, of course. That the thing is that this administration has a lot of countries in it, and the administration part of that would be to bring in the peace, to bring in the infrastructure in a longer run, to create the jobs for the people, decent jobs and employment and sustainable environment for them to grow and all that. So these countries and all these they would play a vital role in bringing in, and this organization would do that for sure in a longer run. But right now, what they're seeking is bringing in the peace at the moment.
Yes,
just the peace, and then obviously these things would follow. The infrastructure would follow, the jobs would follow. It would be a conducive environment where these things can flourish and grow.
And just on one quick thing, there is a challenge to this plan only because it's also calling on Hamas to disarm and for a number of things to take place. Do you think that's likely to happen?
Well, Hamas has actually agreed to it. Both of the sides have agreed to it.
Both sides have now agreed?
Yes, both of sides have agreed, and the disarmament would be, obviously, if you need to have peace in the region, you don't need armed militants around, do you? No, but this is disarmament would be the part of it, and I think the peace agreement has been initiated a month or 2 months back, a month back, right? Probably, and that was partially agreed by both of the parties.
It was partially, yes, it was partially agreed with a number of different caveats to all of that.
But all those countries which are actually providing the troops would do the job as well at the same time.
Yes.
Okay. For example, Pakistan is providing
a number of troops.
Or for example, just giving an example of this region, Pakistan is, or Turkey is. So they would be, if there was any of the troops or the militaries of the bigger powers or the middle powers, whatever you call it, there would be no other, small militants left, because that's where the peacekeeping comes in. Yeah.
Well, let's see how things go. It's still a very fragile time, but this first meeting that President Trump obviously chaired with a number of countries is a step in the right direction, it seems. So let's see how we go from here. So thank you, Mr. Khan, for joining me and for discussing
pleasure. Always
that.
My pleasure.
Right, now let's turn to some other news in the South Caucasus, and Russia's approach in this region may be evolving. Our political analyst Alexandria Filipenko from the Institute for US and Canada Studies says Moscow has shifted towards what she describes as hybrid tactics to blend political pressure, influence operations and strategic maneuvering. Speaking to A News, she argues Azerbaijan now sits at the center of that recalibrated strategy.
Russia's approach in the South Caucasus has changed. As political analyst Alexandra Filipenko explains, Moscow no longer relies on permanent troops or acting as a security broker. Instead, she says, the pressure has become hybrid.
Instead of direct control, Russia increasingly relies on some economic pressure, economic frictions, some information campaigns or disinformation campaigns, some political pressure, political signaling, and some kind of selective destabilization. So Russia has moved from being the guarantee for certain results to being the spoiler of the results that Moscow doesn't like.
Filipenko argues that Azerbaijan is central to this shift. After the 2020 war and the restoration of full sovereignty in 2023, Moscow lost leverage linked to Karabakh. For years, Russia promoted settlement frameworks that critics say would have drawn Azerbaijan into Moscow-led structures such as the CSTO and the Eurasian Economic Union. those proposals did not materialize. A political project involving businessman Ruben Vardanyan in Karabakh also collapsed. Azerbaijani authorities detained him after regaining control of the region. At the same time, Baku deepened ties with Washington, signed a strategic cooperation charter, and expanded energy exports to the European Union, reducing Russia's role as a key regional energy broker.
So those projects for Moscow, it's not about just diplomacy, it's geopolitical erosion. And some information campaigns or disinformation campaigns, they fit that pattern. In Russian strategy, information is not secondary, it's the tool. It's the operational tool. Delegitimizing leadership, portraying some elites as reckless or maybe controlled by someone or some forces. And of course, amplifying domestic tensions. These are the standard methods of influence, of course.
Following the closure of several Russian-linked organizations in Azerbaijan, including the Russian House and the Sputnik outlet, analysts report an increase in cyber activity and online disinformation targeting Baku. Analysts say the Russia's approach is no longer about military presence, but about influence, political, economic, and informational across the South Caucasus.
Iran and Russia are holding joint naval drills in the northern Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. Both say the exercises are designed to strengthen military cooperation and boost maritime security. A News' correspondent Tirash Ralilu reports.
Iranian and Russian navies held a joint drill in Iran's sovereign territorial waters in the Sea of Oman in northern Indian Ocean to promote maritime security through bilateral interaction. According to Iranian Army's website, a spokesman for the exercise, Rear Admiral Hassan Makhsoodloo, said that the primary objective of the drill is to promote maritime security and sustainable naval interactions in the Sea of Oman and the northern Indian Ocean. Earlier this week, Iran's elite Revolutionary Guards held a two-day naval war game in the strategic Strait of Hormuz, during which it partially shut the waterway to the oil transit traffic. According to the official media, another joint drill among Chinese, Iranian, and Russian navies is scheduled to be staged in late February. Meantime, President Masoud Pezeshkian said that Iran is committed to fast and complete implementation of the Strategic Partnership Treaty signed with Russia. In a meeting with the Russian Energy Minister Sergei Tesiliev, the Iranian chief executive said he has held multiple meetings with Russian President Vladimir Putin since taking office. He stated that all discussions between Iranian and Russian presidents resulted in key strategic decisions serving the shared interests of both nations and opening new horizons for bilateral ties. The Russian minister visited Iran to co-chair the 19th session of the Permanent Iranian-Russian Commission on Trade and Economic Cooperation held on February 16th to 18th, which resulted in signing of one cooperation agreement and 4 MOUs. Tirash Ralilu, Tehran, for A News.
It's time for a break now. When I come back, I'll have a full update on the latest headlines, plus a look at what's making the front pages this morning. Stay with us.
Welcome to A News, unfiltered news and analysis from the region and beyond. From Washington to Beijing, Tehran to Kabul, to Tbilisi to Tashkent. Hello, I'm Jay. Challenges.
Today is the third.
We're with you 24/7, taking you live to the front lines of the day's biggest stories.
Welcome to Gabala. One important note. To this. I'm here.
Azerbaijan and Armenia.
Hello, we're reporting on the 8th of November.
Paris, Dar es Salaam, Tel Aviv, Washington, London,
Moscow,
Kyiv, Berlin,
Rio de Janeiro, Beijing, Bangkok, Tbilisi, Tashkent, Almaty, Kazakhstan, Port Sudan,
Tehran,
Islamabad, Istanbul,
Kabul, Port News.
Inside Politics delves deeply into the heart of global issues shaping our world today. Join me for your go-to source of political analysis from across the region and beyond.
And welcome to Primetime. What a show we've got lined up for you. In a complex world, clarity is power. Two hours live, diplomacy dissected in a spin-free environment. That's Prime Time with me, Guy Schoen, weekdays on A News.
Good morning, you're watching Daybreak. I'm your host Nadia Jani, and if you're just joining me, I will take you through today's top stories. Here are the headlines. Britain's former Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has been released under investigation after his arrest for alleged misconduct in public office. Trump warns Iran to make a deal in 10 to 15 days or really bad things will happen. And US President Donald Trump says nations have pledged $7 billion to Gaza reconstruction at the first Board of Peace meeting. Now let's take you through a look at the story shaping of the day across the globe, and we head first to BBC and Sudan and what the UN has recently stated. So Sudan atrocities are hallmarks of genocide, UN says. Now we know that the war in Sudan has been going on for a number of months, even years, so the UN has been doing some fact-finding into the mission and has determined that evidence of atrocities carried out during the siege has taken over of the Sudanese city of El Fasher, points to genocide. So this is some very strong words, because no one from the UN has actually stated that it is near to the point of genocide. Now the Parliamentary Rapid Support Forces captured El Fasher, located in the western region of Darfur, at the end of October after an 18 18-month blockade. Now, this is the closest, as I mentioned, the UN has come to declaring that a genocide is being carried out by the RSF fighters in Darfur during the current conflict. Now, the RSF have not commented on the report, but have actually denied previous such accusations. The body of the evidence was collected, including prolonged siege, starvation, and denial of humanitarian assistance, followed by a number of key points that deal with mass killings, torture, rape, enforced disappearance, systematic humiliation and perpetrators' own declarations, leaves only one reasonable inference, and that is said the fact-finding mission expert Mona Rishamwi. So the RSF acted with intent to destroy in a whole or in part of what was happening over in Zawaga and Fur communities in El Fasher as well. So these findings are hallmarks of what they're saying is a genocide. We will be covering this story more and more as we know that the war still continues in Sudan, and humanitarian relief there is still ongoing, with more support needed from countries to step in, is also what the UN has been calling on. Now we go to our next headline, which is on the CNN website. And that's in regards to the Trump administration in relation to what it stated in regards to Iran. Now, at the first border peace meeting, Trump said negotiations with Iran were going well, but insisted that Tehran needed to make and reach a meaningful agreement, otherwise bad things could happen. And what does he mean by bad things? He's referring to the massive military buildup of aircraft carriers, warships and jets in the region. And it's the largest military buildup since the 2003 invasion of Iraq. So that's actually fueling a lot of fears as to what this full-scale attack could have on Iran. Now, Iranian and US negotiators met on Tuesday in Geneva, and Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said that they had agreed on guiding principles, but the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said on Wednesday that the two sides remained apart on a number of issues. Trump has said that if they cannot have nuclear weapons. It's that simple, is what he's stating. Now, if Iran doesn't agree to that, it's something that the US might decide to push ahead with and actually strike that particular region. It's something that we are watching very closely. As we've mentioned before, the US has also pulled troops out of Syria and sent them to the Middle East. So we do know that there is a continued backup of military assistance in and around the Gulf region. So we will definitely be keeping you abreast of everything going on there. But Trump has given Iran 10 to 15 days to come to the table in regards to making sure they have no nuclear weapons in their country. Okay, now we moved over to our A News website in regards to another headline that is also going on this morning, and that's Cubans adopt solar energy as blackouts and fuel shortages deepen crisis. So this week we've also been reporting on what's going on in Cuba, especially because of a number of oil sanctions that's been taking place. Venezuela and Mexico were the country's main oil importers, and now because that stopped due to pressure from the US, Cuba is feeling the actual consequence of that. And there's a number of, which we reported on previously before, rubbish piling up in the streets. The people and citizens there are definitely feeling the impact of it running at a lesser level than it used to. Now, in response, businesses are using solar panels to make sure that their homes are either heated, have the electricity that it needs in response to what's going on over there. Now, the US is doing this because they want to put pressure on Cuba to actually change its government. So we don't know whether or not that will continue, but we do know that Cuba is pushing back and trying to maintain its structure, but we can see that it is folding. Trump made an announcement earlier this week saying that Cuba is a failed nation in relation to all that's happening there, but we will definitely be providing you with more information as we get it. But we do know that this is a response from some of Cuba's businesses using solar panels in able to help them with energy in regards to a lack of oil and a number of other key things that the country needs and unfortunately is not getting. Right, so we go to our next story in regards to the main headlines today, and it's at New York Times. So Britain updates, former Prince Andrew is released after being arrested amid Epstein revelations. This is a big story that actually broke yesterday morning after he was former Prince Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor was arrested in the morning UK time on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Now we do know that he has now been released from police custody and is, as the investigation still continues, we know that King Charles has spoken out on that, and he says that he is committed to making sure that the process continues to go. However, he is shocked by the news in regards to that. We do have more on this story, so we're going to go to the report now.
United Kingdom's former Prince Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor has left police station following his arrest on suspicion of misconduct in public office on Thursday morning. He was photographed reclined in the back of a vehicle leaving Aylsham police station at around 7 p.m. local time and was released under investigation. Former Prince's arrest came on the same day he turned 66. Police have been searching addresses in Berkshire and Norfolk, including the Royal Lodge in Windsor, where he lived until recently. Officers say the investigation relates to allegations that he passed documents and information to Jeffrey Epstein while working as a UK trade envoy, stressing that no charges have been brought. The King, who was not told about the arrest in advance, said in the statement that the law must take its course. Prince William and Catherine are understood to support that position. The family of Virginia Giuffre, who accused Andrew of sexual abuse and died last year, said they felt vindicated by the arrest. Her brother Sky Roberts said the news brought a sense of justice for his sister and urged the royal family to use the moment to push for accountability and cultural change. Giuffre made global headlines after a photograph of her as a teenager with Andrew emerged in 2011. She accused him of abusing her when she was underage and filed a civil case in 2021, which was settled the following year without an admission of wrongdoing. Andrew, the second son of the late Queen Elizabeth, has always denied any wrongdoing in relation to Epstein and has said he regrets their friendship. Misconduct in public office is a serious common law offence in the UK and carries a maximum sentence of life imprisonment, with cases heard in the Crown Court. Police say the investigation is ongoing and further updates will follow. Zainab Farizadeh, News, Manchester, United Kingdom.
Following on from this, US President Donald Trump has expressed concern over Andrew's arrest, describing the situation as unfortunate for the royal family, while also stressing his own innocence in the matter. Here's what he had to say.
Well, you know, I'm the expert in a way because I've been totally exonerated. That's very nice. I can actually speak about it very nicely. I think it's a shame. I think it's very sad. I think it's so bad for the royal family. It's a very, very sad. To me, it's a very sad thing. When I see that, it's a very sad thing to see it and to see what's going on with his brother, who's obviously coming to our country very soon, and he's a fantastic man, the King. So I think it's a very sad thing. It's really interesting because nobody used to speak about Epstein when he was alive, but now they speak. But I'm the one that can talk about it because I've been totally exonerated. I did nothing. In fact, the opposite. He was against me. He was fighting me in the election, which I just found out through the last 3 million pages of documents.
Meanwhile, as news of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's arrest sent shockwaves globally, the United Nations says it's declining to comment on the matter. However, the UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric has called for increased investigations into the Epstein files.
I have no comment on the particular the circumstances and the reasons of the detention of Mr. Windsor Mountbatten today. That's not for us to get involved in. But as we've said before, there should be increased investigations into the abuse of women and girls that we have seen by Mr. Epstein that spans many different countries and jurisdictions. Thank you.
US President Donald Trump has warned Iran to make a deal in 10 to 15 days or really bad things will happen. The comment count comes as Iran and Russia conduct Navy exercises in the Indian Ocean.
Speaking at his first Board of Peace meeting held in Washington on Thursday, US President Donald Trump warned Iran it must do a deal surrounding its nuclear program. He made the comment after talks in Geneva made no real breakthrough, despite sides saying there was progress.
And we do have some work to do with Iran. They can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. You can't have peace in the Middle East if they have a nuclear weapon. And they can't have a nuclear weapon. And they've been told that very strongly. They cannot continue to threaten the stability of the entire region. And they must make a deal. Or if that doesn't happen, I maybe can understand. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But bad things will happen.
Trump hopes the large build-up of military aircraft in the region piles on enough pressure for a deal to be reached. However, Iran and Russia conducted joint naval exercises in the Sea of Oman and the northern Indian Ocean on Thursday. Navy authorities said the exercises were aimed to promote security and sustainable maritime interactions. The increase of military on both sides in the region comes as Tehran refuses to give up its nuclear program and denies it plans to develop atomic weapons.
The European Council has formally decided to add Iran's Islamic Revolution Guard Corps to the European Union's list of terrorist organisations. The move follows a political agreement reached by the bloc's Foreign Affairs Council late last month. As a result of the designation, the IRGC will face restrictive measures under the EU's counter-terrorism sanctions regime, including the freezing of its funds and economic resources within member states. Now to South America, and Argentina was brought to a standstill by hundreds of protesters who had gathered at the Congress Square. Unions staged a nationwide 24-hour strike against planned changes that unions say would place restrictions on the right to strike.
A water cannon and tear gas were used to disperse some protesters as they rallied outside the Argentine National Congress in Buenos Aires on Thursday. The demonstrators are against a contentious labor reform backed by Libertarian President Javier Milei. Argentina's largest umbrella union, CGT, says the proposed overhaul threatens long-standing worker protections, including the right to strike. In response, it launched a 24-hour stoppage involving transport workers, public sector staff and bank employees. National airline Aerolíneas Argentinas said it expected 255 flights to be cancelled because of the strikes. Milei's government say the changes are aimed at attracting investment and boosting growth.
What good is an entire library of labor legislation if at the end of the day the system doesn't create jobs? What workers' rights can be protected by regulations that do nothing but push people out of formal employment? We've lost our way.
The planned legislation would also lower severance costs for employers by excluding certain bonuses from compensation requirements. Opposition politicians have criticized the measures for restricting workers' rights.
Behind the words labor modernization, they have smuggled in the most brutal regression of workers' rights in the history of the Argentine people.
The controversy over the proposed labor reforms comes as Argentina's manufacturing sector shows signs of a downturn, with more than 21,000 firms closing in the last 2 years.
Palestinians have expressed reluctance over plans to reconstruct the Gaza Strip. This comes after US President Donald Trump announced contributions of more than $7 billion from members of his Board of Peace.
Gazans hope that the billions of dollars that has been pledged towards the reconstruction of the Strip will actually benefit them. It comes after US President Donald Trump's first Board of Peace meeting on Thursday, where he announced contributions of more than $7 billion. However, Palestinians have reacted cautiously.
We hope that the reconstruction happens quickly and that the money that has been allocated truly goes to the right place and isn't mismanaged in any way.
No, of course I'm not optimistic because all of this feels pointless. It's just media talk and nothing will actually happen. There won't be any reconstruction. This is clearly part of a plan by the occupation with the Americans involved. Why? To push us out of our land and our country. God is sufficient for us and He is the best disposer of affairs. We pray, God willing, that it will be a blessed time and that reconstruction will take place, but in the end I'm not optimistic at all.
Hamas has been reluctant to surrender its weapons under Trump's 20-point Gaza plan, which led to a ceasefire last October. Both sides blame each other for violations since the ceasefire began. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said there will be no reconstruction in Gaza until the territory is demilitarized.
And regarding Gaza, our forces are tightening their grip on the Strip from all directions. You were there, you know. According to the war objectives we set, Hamas will be dismantled of its weapons and Gaza will be demilitarized. And we agreed with our friends in the United States. There will be no reconstruction of the Strip before it is demilitarized.
Key issues likely to test the Trump's board's effectiveness in the months ahead include the disarmament of Hamas and the withdrawal of Israeli troops, the size of the reconstruction fund, and the delivery of humanitarian aid to Gaza's war-affected population.
During the Board of Peace meeting, US President Donald Trump also highlighted the peace declaration signed by Armenia and Azerbaijan in Washington last year, emphasizing that there is nothing more important than peace. Take a look at this.
You think that was easy? It wasn't easy. These are two tough people, good people, but tough people. But, you know, we're in the Oval Office, and we were getting near. But the one was at one side of the room. I have two chairs right in front of the desk, the beautiful, resolute desk. One's over here. One's on the other side of the room. I said, folks, could you get a little closer? Well, I don't know. They felt very uncomfortable. You know, they've been killing each other for 32 years. So I say, can you get a little closer? After 1 hour, they were right next to each other. We made a deal. They hugged, they signed, and we had peace with two very important countries, and I'll never forget it. So they started off a little weak, and they ended up really strong, and you can be very proud of yourselves. It was a beautiful thing to see. Thank you. Look at that. Can you believe it? 32 years. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're watching Daybreak on A News. We're going to take a quick break. Make sure you stay with us.
Inside Politics delves deeply into the heart of global issues shaping our world today. Join me for your go-to source of political analysis from across the region and beyond.
Welcome to A News, unfiltered news and analysis from the region and beyond. From Washington to Beijing, Tehran to Kabul, to Tbilisi to Tashkent. Hello, I'm Jay. Challenges.
Today is the third.
We're with you 24/7, taking you live to the front lines of the day's biggest stories.
Welcome to Gabala. Hi, Candy. One important note to this. I'm here.
Azerbaijan and Armenia.
Hello, we're reporting on the 8th of November.
Reporting from Paris. terrors.
Dar es Salaam, Tel Aviv, Washington, London,
Moscow,
Kyiv, Berlin,
Rio de Janeiro, Beijing,
Bangkok,
Tbilisi,
Tashkent,
Almaty, Kazakhstan, Port Sudan,
Tehran,
Islamabad, Istanbul,
Kabul for A News.
Welcome back. You're watching Daybreak with me, Nadia Jani. Now, Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the new Board of Peace could help resolve major global conflicts as members pledge billions to rebuild Gaza and support long-term stability. President Trump also warned Iran to move forward on a nuclear deal, saying the US will soon decide whether to stay on a diplomatic path or consider other action. Our correspondent Ube Shabanda has more from Washington.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Thursday said that he hoped that the newly formed Board of Peace could serve as a model for solving many other complex and difficult conflicts around the world, like the one in Gaza. The focus for now, Rubio said, must be the rebuilding of Gaza and to ensure that that war and the accompanying mass destruction does not break out once more. President Trump addressed the crowded room of dignitaries from around the world that had gathered to form the Board of Peace, telling them that peace is possible, but only with determined leadership. He told them that the war in Gaza came to an end after years of conflict, mainly because of the support and commitment of many of the countries who have chosen to be among the first to join the Board of Peace. So far, the ceasefire in Gaza is holding. The Trump administration sees the billions of dollars pledged by members of the board that will set the foundation for security, governance, and perhaps one day prosperity in Gaza so that the peace could hold for the long term. President Trump also fired another warning to Iran while speaking at the Board of Peace, warning the leaders in Tehran that they must make a deal or face severe consequences. This is yet another warning by President Trump and comes as the American military buildup in the Arabian Gulf and Middle East continues to bring a significant number of warplanes, warships, air surveillance platforms, and military cargo aircraft, all poised to strike Iran in what could be a sustained campaign, if so ordered by President Trump. Trump also said on Thursday that he will make the decision soon on whether to stick to the diplomatic track or opt for a military solution if there are no signs that Iran is willing to acquiesce to a meaningful and lasting deal regarding its nuclear program. One thing is clear, we are likely closer than ever to what could very well be direct military confrontation between the United States and Iran. I'm Ube Shabander, A News, Washington.
Well, thank you so much for joining and watching Daybreak with me. I've been your host, Nadia Jani, and I will be back on Monday to take you through the latest updates throughout the morning and throughout the week. So please come back and join me. But in the meantime, make sure you stay tuned to A News. Take care.